All right, welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is March 22nd. We are at a Thursday already. This week has flown by. Stopping in tonight, doing a little update on space weather, and then we're going to go over a couple things in the weather tonight, Grand Solar Minimum related. Let's go ahead and get started with our first look at our space weather. Bear with me here, folks. Wow.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to enlarge this.
I can do it for you, buddy.
I thought we had that already.
It is there.
All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and take care of the space weather report. Solar wind speeds are sitting at 423 kilometers per second with a density of 12.6. All right, looking at our sun, we do not have any sunspots today. That'll make day number 3 in a row with 44 days of spotless. So that's 54% already in. Someone wanted to point out earlier, we had a live stream earlier, and we will from time to time do some of these community chats where we just kind of post replays of yesterday's show and then a few other videos that we feel important, some interviews, and just kind of allow the community to just, you know, gather around and talk a little bit on YouTube and talk about what they're growing and how they're preparing for the Grand Solar Minimum. But somebody also mentioned too that we're already just about half of the spotless days right now than we are in all of 2017, and we're still in March. So very good observation. We're just about at the halfway total mark from the entire year of 2017, and it's only March. Going on here to look at our KP indices, we are sitting at a quiet 3, so they say, and our 24-hour max is also at a quiet 3. Now, the reason why we are mentioning this as well is because looking at our SDO, you see that we have some coronal holes here that are now Earth-facing, but also we are expecting some solar winds to increase, and I wanted to show you here right now. 423 is what it was as we last checked. Earlier today, however, I was observing solar wind speeds in the low 300s. So you can tell we are starting to get a little bit of an increase right now. And quickly, I wanted to drag attention to a situation that I think we could be watching for. Could maybe possibly not, but I just happened to notice it. And I'll go ahead and highlight it real quick here. We're looking at the SDO here, and I'm going to put a circle around the area that I want you guys to watch here right at the tail end of this. We're going to see 2 little flashes start to develop right there. I don't know if you guys caught that at the very end of that. I'm going to try to pause this for you. And I think right there is where we need it. So as you see right here, I'm going to go ahead and line up the circle. It's very weak right now, but I did notice on the last couple of images of this angstrom here was where I first noticed it, and we'll go ahead and play this out as well, and maybe you'll see it develop in this angstrom as well. I'll go ahead and pause it and go ahead and show you exactly where I first saw it show up, right there in the middle. Actually, this one's a terrible example to show you. As you see, the red circle is the same color of the angstrom that we're looking at, but this was designed for just to kind of point out here, we saw it on the SDO in this angstrom right here in the middle. You see the 2 little spots. I'll go ahead and put this in motion, just try to watch that area. I think that is an indication of a possible development of a sunspot. I am no expert on this, but just observing this over the past year and a half or so, you kind of know what to look for, or what to try to look for when trying to find these active regions on the sun. And right there at the end, those 2 little spots do seem like they're popping up. My question to the chat, and let's see if we can test any Grand Solar Minimum knowledge, but I want to know, is this the right kind of area for sunspots in solar cycle 24? So there's all kinds of observations being made right now as far as when our next sunspot will come, if it will. Looking at our TSI data for today and the date on this. Now, Mari, did you rerun this by chance today?
I loaded it today.
Well, it looks like we are having some issues again from this website, unfortunately. And this does happen from time to time where we get blackouts. The last date that was reported on the TSI was on the 12th of March, which is what we reported on yesterday. So unfortunately, we do not have an update on the TSI numbers for today, but that's okay. We still have plenty to talk about. Today, normally we have done a lot of, sorry guys, we have tried to read some headlines and, you know, go over the day's events or the week's events. And I feel like first I want to start with some totals from tobe first before we move along to what's going on currently in California. So to kind of wrap up tobe, I brought up some totals here from the storm. The one total that sticks out to me the most is the Kentucky 11.5 inches in Hillview. That's south of Louisville. That area definitely is not used to that kind of snowfall this part of March. But tobe really did its damage in New York, where 20 inches was dropped in a couple locations, basically near New York City, near the Atlantic part of New York. North Carolina saw 10 inches in Maggie Valley, 3.5 inches in Cincinnati, which nothing, amazing, but still for March in Cincinnati, Ohio, right now they're not used to seeing any kind of snowfall as far as that goes. They got 4 inches near Dayton, and 8.2 in Oberlin. And looking at New Jersey, they got 11.8 inches. That was their high mark. Tennessee, their high mark was 8 inches in Mount LeConte, southeast of Gatlinburg. And as you see, the second highest snow totals was 3 inches, so that 8 inches was massive for them. Virginia had 12.9 in Musto. And again, the totals that fall behind that big number is 5.3 and then 4.5. So it wasn't like these states had widespread double-digit snow totals, but they were out there in certain areas. And to me, like I said, the most surprising area for me is the 11.5 inches in Hillview. That's south of Louisville. And Maryland, you got battered with 16.5 inches of snow. I remember seeing somebody in the chat earlier today hoping and praying that these nor'easters are done. They are getting about sick of this snow out there. I can't say that I don't blame you on that. So, and here is some really good news here in Rhode Island. Scituate only received an inch from this storm. And if you guys remember, Scituate has been hit very hard from Quinn and Schuyler, coastal flooding. This is the area where we saw the 620 tons of rock and debris from the ocean floor being overflown into the streets and these little neighborhoods near the coast. So I wanted to bring that up because I'm sure these folks in Foster and Scituate are very, very appreciative that this time it was only an inch of it. And this was heavy snow. This wasn't that fluffy snow that you could just take a snow blower out, like a leaf blower, and just blow it off the sidewalk. This stuff, if you have any kind of health issues, heart conditions, back issues, and you're in one of the areas that got 11 inches of this stuff, you need to take your time and be careful shoveling, because this is where some of the injuries happen, is the shoveling. So be very careful. This is very heavy, wet snow. Not your typical light February snow or anything like that. This is definitely a springtime snowstorm, and there's more on the way, unfortunately. The next section I'd like to kind of go over, well, actually, we're going to go from this. I want to kind of show off something here. Mari has done a really good job at bringing up some images for me. These are GOES satellite images, and these are all still, right, Mari?
No.
Oh, there is motion on these.
I have every other one. I have it sorted by upper atmosphere, middle atmosphere, lower atmosphere. So these are still, and then the tab right next to it is the motion.
Ah, very nice.
Gotcha.
That's what I wanted to see.
There you go.
So, I want to give a shout out to Thor News. He has been very, very active in the last Well, especially today and yesterday, and as early as last week, talking about this atmospheric river that is invading the West Coast. And Mari and I were looking at various difference of these GOES satellites, and we've noticed the water vapor is very heavy in the majority of this storm right now. But the atmospheric river here, I want to show you what we are seeing, and something that kind of Thor kind of mentioned as well. He mentioned the atmospheric river possibly hooking up with this low pressure system out here.
Use your circle, G.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my fancy circle out here. Okay, this system here, it almost appears that the moisture is being sucked right into this low pressure system and is being pulled into this system as it moves away from our country, pulling that moisture across the south and southeast of the United States. The one thing that I really wanted to zone in on was this area right here. Okay, next week, early next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this area right here is my biggest concern. And the reason why I wanted to do a shout out to Thor News was that he made a very, very good observation about this particular system hooking up with the nor'easter on the East Coast, Toby. And I believe this has the perfect setup for what we're going to see next week, and what I'm going to show you here in a few minutes about the southeast getting the flooding rains, and Texas. Actually, you guys this weekend are going to start seeing some weather, some chances for storms. Severe weather will pop up on Sunday for the Texas region. So I wanted to bring those out real quick and show everyone that I think that this atmospheric river situation is going to cause some big problems next week to the south and the east part of our country towards the late midweek next week. Again, some stunning images here. This is cloud coverage. Folks, look at this, all this moisture back here in California, and I'll go ahead and bring out my fancy circle. This area out here, okay? Look at all the cloud coverage out here, all right? The moisture that's in this. This is going to be flowed in across the eastern part of the United States, the south, the southeast, and off to the Atlantic. And like I said, I'll get into that here in a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to show everybody some sobering images from our GOES satellite. And when you look at the big picture like this, and you look at the cloud coverage on our planet right now and cosmic rays, you see how cloud nucleation is taking place and how cosmic rays are seeding our atmosphere. This should be proof enough for you right now. We've definitely got more cloud coverage than we've seen in a long time. But again, this is the upper part of our atmosphere, all right? Here is the mid part of the atmosphere, and you could still see these two systems barely miss each other. The atmospheric river is flowing in right here into the midsection of our country, and it takes a dive down towards the south in the Gulf and then gets sucked back up in here into this low pressure system. So there's a chance that this low pressure system is definitely going to help pull this atmospheric river across the United States. And as I get into our weather report here in a minute, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. I also wanted to touch base before I go into the weather report. Mari and I are sitting here watching various news outlets today. We are looking for updates about this potential situation in California, Montecito. Some of the pictures that are coming in, these are from today. This is the mandatory evacuation area around Santa Barbara, and they are showing us also recommended areas as well. I like this picture here Mari found for us. This tells us how atmospheric river works. Atmospheric rivers can carry as much water as 15 Mississippi rivers and can provide up to 50% of the West Coast precipitation. Now that's just one of these things. Atmospheric rivers tap tropical moisture near Hawaii, transporting concentrated water vapor for thousands of miles, which we are seeing right now. As water vapor lifts over the mountains, it cools and condenses, falling as rain or snow. Now, that is to be true right now in the Sierra Nevadas. They are measuring the snowfall right now in the feet. I heard earlier today that we are looking at, so far for the month of March, 16 feet of snow right now in the Sierra Nevada. So when we start warming up later this month and into April, into May, you know, along with whatever rain systems we are dealing with, this is going to be some major flooding concerns from the snow melt in the mountains, on top of the rain that we're getting right now and what's to come in the future. Thor News made a very good mention about how there is a dam that is there's an imminent breach that's coming. Mari, do you remember by chance the name of that dam?
Moccasin Creek Dam.
Thank you very much. Moccasin Creek Dam, and it's in the very southern part of California. And that is just reminiscent of when we had the last mud. Well, actually, this reminds me of the time when we had all that rain and Orville Dam was giving us all the trouble. This reminds me a lot of that situation. Thor News, another good find for him is that he was bringing up the fact that some of these reservoirs are rising and we need to keep our eyes on this. Now, this weather is going to continue for this part of the country all the way through tonight into late tonight, I believe. Some forecasters are saying that this stuff will taper down by midnight tonight. I think that might be downplaying it. That's hopeful. There are some forecasts right now that are saying that we could see rain all the way as far into 8 in the morning on Friday morning in that region. So without further ado or delay, I'm going to go ahead and get into tropical tidbits here real quick, and let's figure out what is going on weather-wise.
Shut that window if you're done with it.
This one here?
Yeah, people are saying we're buffering. I'm not sure what's going on with people buffering today.
Well, it could be an internet issue, but you never know. I'm going to go ahead and take away the ghost satellite too. Yeah. All right, cool. So hopefully this helps our folks who are watching right now on, what, 9 different platforms right now, possibly?
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's why we're buffering.
It could be.
Even though YouTube is saying that our stream quality is really good. Apparently people are able to view us in 720, but I don't know. Who knows? It's a mystery.
It is a mystery. So we can see the live. Anyway, looking at tropical tidbits, we have, of course, right now, currently a mess on the West Coast. There's going to be a foot of snow falling in various areas in Oregon and Washington. That begins tonight as well. So we have winter storm warnings out here. We have flood warnings on the West Coast. And as we watch this system depart into the middle of our country by Saturday, we have more snow. This is where they think they're going to get the foot of snow at by the weekend in this area right here, all up and down Oregon and Washington and Northern California. They're expecting heavy snowfall, and it looks like some more rain is developing on the backside of that system as well. But focusing in here on the middle of the country, there are several states that are under winter storm warnings right now. Anywhere from 3 to 5 to 8 to 12 inches is being forecast, and this snow line is very compact. It's only going to take this system to jog a little bit north or a little bit south before it changes the forecast. And right here, this is probably the best forecast so far. This one's lining up with everyone right now where I've got the cursor at. We're probably going to see the areas that's shaded blue right here in the Cincinnati metro area. You're expecting 5 inches of snow. Now, that's a big deal for Cincinnati, Ohio on March 25th anytime. So you know, I've lived in Ohio most of my life, and I went to an opening day Reds baseball game back when I was 17 years old, and it was cold. We had to wear winter jackets that night. So it does get cold late in the year in March. It's not saying it's impossible, but Very rare to see this much snowfall, and especially since they just got hit with a brief snowstorm with Toby. So more snow on the way for this particular region that's already seen snow. Louisville, I think you might be in the clear on this one. You might get some flurries on the back end of this, but this system will dive southeast, and you guys will see some showers in the Tennessee Valley, the Carolinas, and northern Alabama and northern Georgia will see some action of this as well as it sweeps through. But now we're watching this system over here in Oklahoma, and this is the system that I'm going to be concerned with, because it's going to develop as that system moves off to the coast into the Atlantic. We see major development here by Monday across most of the Midwest and most of the Central Plains. Snow again to the Dakotas, Montana. And as we move through this forecast, this is where I'm concerned with some of these rain totals that they're forecasting, where it's just going to set up in Texas by Thursday of this time next week. This rain system actually has dropped further south. This was more closer to the Ohio Valley and not so much coming all the way back in here. So I know there's a lot of people in Texas that need the rain. You might get your wish. Hopefully it doesn't create a bunch of flash flooding, but with that heavy area of rain falling for 24 hours or longer, there's a good chance that we could see some flash flooding if this storm holds together. And look at it as it makes its exit, the end of March, the last day of March. The East Coast, you're expecting heavy precipitation from this system. So this is going to bomb out over the southern plains and the southeast region of the United States. As it makes its exit, we have a low pressure system in the northern plains that looks like it's trying to organize for a snowstorm. And as I move through April, the beginning of April, thankfully our temperatures are not going to support a major snowstorm, but I will note that we do see a decrease in temperatures on April 2nd, and it's going to give snow to some of the four corner states, Kansas, Wyoming, Nebraska. You guys will see some more winter action as well, more moisture again in the south. And this is the first week of April, so we got a long way before this happens, but you know, it is kind of nice to see the future outlook, what we're expecting. But here's what surprises me. I'm taking this all the way to the end of the GFS forecasting. This is April 6th, another major system moving across the east again. But as that system exits as well, behind it, April 7th, as of right now, we're looking at a major snowstorm once again developing in the four corner states, Wyoming, Utah, parts of Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, Dakotas, South Dakota especially. It looks like you're going to get it the worst out of all of them. So I'm surprised to see April 7th and we're still battling old man winter this deep. But my biggest concern now, let's get through this first, and that is going to be next week from Tuesday on. And here we are, March 27th. This is the very beginning of this system. It starts to develop here in the Midwest, mid-plains, and as we go through on Tuesday into Wednesday, it gets its act together for sure overnight Tuesday, heading into Wednesday, and then redeveloping and refiring up throughout the day's heat, intensifying by early Thursday, and by midday Thursday, we're looking at some heavy rain precipitation. I mean, according to this legend here, we're looking at anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of rainfall. And it continues to get worse in the Mississippi Valley, heading into Memphis area of Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, and into Alabama, into Georgia in the coming days. It does get intense in Tennessee and Kentucky, but that kind of, as the system moves closer to the Atlantic, it loses its potency. And like I said earlier, I think the reason why we're going to see this massive amount of rain is partly due to the high pressure system that's pulling the atmospheric river across the northwest now into the middle of the country and off to the east coast by the end of next week. So this moisture, we are definitely already heading for a wet spring, and it's what, 2 days old. So lots to talk about. And guys, I didn't even get to go over any kind of headlines tonight, so Maybe tomorrow night I'll find some headlines that we can speak about, some GSM news. But the reason why, you know, mention this stuff, why is this grand solar minimum related? Well, look at the precipitation amount we're talking about. When I'm saying 6 to 10 inches of rain in 36 to 48 hours, you know, more particles, more charged particles in our atmosphere. Weaker magnetosphere allows these particles to travel in and create these rain bombs, essentially. Especially with this atmospheric river, not only are we getting the supported moisture from this atmospheric river, but you also have to remember California and New York, the study for the cosmic ray increase, their main study points are in California and New York. And last we checked, California was around 17% increase on cosmic rays. So this makes sense to me why we're seeing so much precipitation when there's a system that does happen to move through California or the West Coast, especially a healthy one like this. Mari, how you doing?
Well, this whole buffer issue has had some people a little frustrated. Apparently pausing it a couple seconds and then playing it helps it. I just told people I'll see what I can do and tweak some settings. YouTube's saying that the stream is coming through fine, so it's very weird. But hey, we had this problem earlier. Hopefully maybe it's just a one-day thing. We'll see. Usually our streams are pretty good. We don't have buffering issues.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, stuff like this is really out of Mari and I's hands when it comes. I can tell you on our end, we have the best high-speed internet money can buy. So hopefully it's just an issue that everyone's having on the internet, and it could be something that would be fixed hopefully by the next time we go live. Other than that, I really do appreciate everybody coming by and checking us out. Mari and I had a very successful chat session with many of you in the GSM community. I think that's something that we're going to try to do more of, to have that general chat with folks out there, share ideas. Today we talked about, actually, you know, I'm not trying to be vulgar by any means, but we joked around about starting a new talk show called Shit Talk. And basically it will be about the various ways to put manure into your gardening and making sure that you I learned today that too much chicken manure would burn up crops, too much heat. So like I said, we could call the show Shit Talk and talk every morning about manure. No, Jake. It's a joke. Come on, just trying to be lighthearted about it.
God, no.
All right, so no on the Shit Talk show. We'll go ahead and X that already.
We are crossing that off the
86
list.
in it. All right.
Okay.
Guys, thank you again for tuning in to another live session here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel. We appreciate all the support. Remember, we will talk soon. We'll see you tomorrow night, Friday at 7:30, possibly 8 p.m. Eastern, but plan on it being at least an hour long.
Should we invite like people to come in and talk, or should we have that organized better?
Let's organize that. That could be an idea for the future, folks. We might actually bring in some of our members in the community. I'm not talking about other channels. I'm talking about if you are a member or subscriber of the Grand Solar Minimum channel and would like to share some ideas about how to maintain or how to thrive, or even ask questions about cosmic rays or sunspots, or maybe you have a theory as well that you'd like to add, go ahead and shoot us an email at jake@thegrandsolarminimum.com or at Mari for gomarigo@gmail.com. Again, for Mari, it's gomarigo@gmail.com. And we can try to work out in the future. We can get some of you guests on here live and either have a discussion with us or ask questions. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys, we'll talk soon.